So this should be quite an interesting video. One of my viewers asked me if I can make a reaction to this video. It's called 5 Taboo, Weird or Illegal Things in America That Are Normal in Germany. So even just the title of this video intrigued me. I'm really interested to know what these things could be. Again, this will show like a real cultural difference between these two countries, and I'll try and compare it to the UK as well, where I'm from. Let's check this out.
Hey folks, Austin here, and this is Jack. Today I'm going to be talking about some things that are either taboo, weird, or illegal in America that seem to be totally normal in Germany and probably a good chunk of Europe. But you wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Jack? He's from the Asian Pacific, so everything I'm going to be talking about today is based entirely on my own experiences, having lived briefly here in Germany,
Bonn
and living
Nuremberg.
here.
Yeah, a lot of people
in
told me
America.
Bonn is very
All right, let's get
beautiful.
started.
Tell me more
All right, so
about
first thing on
Bonn.
the list is going to be the drinking age. So in 1984, U.S. Congress passed the National Minimum Drinking Age Act, which coerced states to raise their drinking age to the
I thought
infamous
it'd always been
21,
21
and did so
actually.
by threatening to take away a portion of a given state's federal highway funding. As you're perhaps familiar, all states
Interesting.
eventually complied. Crossing the Atlantic, however, in Germany, you can drink beer and wine at the age of 16,
Well, 16?
and spirits
Okay.
at 18. So big cultural difference
Very
there
responsible.
to begin with. But what I found particularly interesting was that at age 14, you can drink beer and wine with the consent of a parent or guardian. I mean, 14 compared to 21, that's a 7-year difference.
It's a big
kinda
difference.
crazy.
Yeah.
Also, it was my astute observation that drinking in Germany, well, at least the consumption of beer, was much more of a cultural thing, while I feel in the US it's more of a market and lacks that particular style that Germany has. Like, we don't have purity laws, and for the most part, our mainstream beer is, well, no more than yellow tinted water.
Yeah,
Not that
piss
I would know,
water,
of course.
some people say.
So fun fact about me, I had never alcoholed prior to coming to Germany, and my first beer ever was a Kolsch in the city of Bonn. Speaking of Bonn, for this one, let's
Yeah, so that's very interesting. I think in Germany it's very similar to the UK. Although all alcohol, we must be 18 to drink in the UK. I don't know if we have a similar law when you can drink with your parents or with an adult, but I think we might have something similar. But for me, I agree with that. I think it just encourages responsible drinking. If you drink from a bit younger and drink moderately, it can, when you get older, you can actually appreciate alcohol a bit more. In the US, if it's 21, I don't know, maybe people get to 21 and they just go crazy because maybe they feel like they've been deprived. But tell me how alcohol is thought of in Germany. Do people respect it? Is there a lot of people who abuse it and just go crazy on binging and things like that? Obviously, beer is synonymous with Germany, so how do you feel about beer?
go back to July
What was this again?
2015, Bonn. Speaking of Bonn,
public
for this one,
drinking?
let's
Okay.
go back to July 2015. It's 6:30 p.m. and I'm lounging on the Bonn University Hofgarten, enjoying einige kalte deutsche Biere with a small group of friends. There are groups like ours all around us, casually drinking, some playing frisbee. There are couples walking in the park. There are children playing in the playground. It's absolutely an incredibly beautiful scene. Unfortunately, not one you'll ever likely see in a public place in the US. Why not, you ask? Because here in America, we have these little legal technicalities referred to as open container laws. Real bummer, believe me, I know. When I got back to America, all the drinking games I was familiar with were optimized for the great outdoors, such as like flunkyball. In truth, I don't think America should legalize public drinking unless it first implements some kind of comparable fine system. I just think the mess would be too great. And also I think American culture in regards to drinking and beer has to first evolve because I think it would just be abused into oblivion
Yeah.
if you just were like, all
That's the
public
problem.
drinking is legal today. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think in the UK, I'm not sure if it varies based on the region, but I think it might actually be illegal to drink outdoors, but it's just you generally don't get into trouble unless you get a police officer that's just really on their job and taking it too seriously. But for me, public drinking is enjoyable, but it's all about being responsible and not just going crazy. I'm from Scotland and we have quite a interesting relationship with alcohol. You know, from very young we'll be drinking with our friends and things, and sometimes it can go a bit mad. that's the same with outdoor drinking. You know, in Scotland we don't get much good weather, so as soon as there's the first sign of sunshine in the spring or sun, people are out drinking in the parks, in the streets, in their garden, and sometimes they can go a bit far. So I think it's all about being responsible, but I think it should be legal.
So this was one of the more surprising things for me when I first arrived in Europe. Considering how progressive Europe seems to be, it really surprised me that Europeans, well at least Germans, smoke as much as they do. I grew up in the US during a time where there were massive anti-smoking campaigns with a constant flow of scare tactic TV ads as well as relentless drug prevention programs in schools. There was really no way you could escape it. When I was in high school, I didn't have any friends that smoked cigarettes, and now that I'm in college even, I only have maybe 1 or 2 friends that do. So I'm hesitant to say it's categorical, but in my experience it seems to be that smoking cigarettes becomes more and more taboo in America every year. So if you've ever
Carbonated water. But is that the same in Germany? How has that changed? How's the perception of smoking changed over like the last decade or a couple decades? Is it became like uncool to smoke? Is it, do people realise the health implications of it more? Europe, for me, as somebody from the UK, is known as like a nation, like a continent of smokers, especially places like France. But I never really knew too much about smoking in Germany. Is it very, very common? Is it slowing down the amount of people who are actually doing it? Is it getting more expensive to buy cigarettes? That's the thing in the UK. Over the last decade, the price of cigarettes has just went through the roof, increased dramatically. Is that the same in Germany? Are they trying to discourage people from smoking?
ever been to the Grand Ole US
Carbonated water, man. Before he says anything about it, I am just not a fan of carbonated water. I can't get on board. I just like ice cold, normal water.
So if you've ever been to the Grand Ole US of A, you're probably acutely aware that here in America, we're not as keen on having those fancy bubbles in our agua. Can you buy it here? Sure, but it's not even remotely as popular as it is in Germany, dare I say most of, if not all of Europe. So another quick life story with Austin. When I was on the plane to Germany, it was the first time I had had carbonated mineral water, and I was so disgusted by it that I really thought I was going to throw up right there in my seat. However, by the end of the year, or like shortly after getting there really, I tried it more and I really started to like it, and by the end of the year, I even preferred it to that regular old boring still water that nobody likes except for people in America.
I do love it, man. But for me, even more than like carbonated drinks and things, I just love cold, plain water, man. I drink a lot of it. But tell me what you think about carbonated water. I think with carbonated water, if you add some like orange or some flavour, I think that would be nice. But I just can't drink it on its own, man.
So in America, it's proper etiquette to keep the fork in one's dominant hand, then pick up the knife. Then switch the knife in the fork when the necessity to perform a culinary incision or cut arises. After living in Germany for a year, I find this method of doing things to be highly impractical. I much prefer the German persuasion of keeping the knife in the dominant hand and the fork in the other hand, and then just
I thought that was
doing
normal.
it that way. Interestingly enough, I still use my silverware the way you fine folks in the land of beer and bread do. One could even argue it's a habit that I brought back from Germany. Alright folks, well that ends at least the first half of this list.
Okay, so he's got another half. Maybe I'll check out that one as well. But yeah, really interesting. That machete threw me a little bit there. But interesting, all those things, to see the difference between the USA and Germany. Again, I think UK is probably more similar. Maybe actually in the middle between both of them. Some things are more similar to USA and some are more similar to Germany in the UK. So quite interesting points there. Tell me what you think about all of them. Tell me if you think they're normal in Germany, all of those things. Do you partake in all of them? And maybe check out the other part of his video soon. Thanks.